Okay, Bill, I feel like this interview has been, and this conversation has been a long time in the making for a lot of reasons.
Oh, thank you.
Like the incredible depth and history of your successes in this industry of commercial real estate and development.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really an honor to be sitting here with you.
That usually means that's a code word for I've been around a while. I'm an old guy.
Well, I'm an old gal, so like we can commiserate about that.
Sure.
But thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
How did you first discover that you are a genius when it comes to real estate deals? Like, tell me, is there a moment when you like knew that? Because I don't think anyone can look at a situation and figure out how it all works quicker and more cohesively than I've seen you do that.
I appreciate that. I don't really think of myself as a genius. I think of myself as somebody that's done it long enough, had enough practice that it's become secondhand for me.
Okay.
And fortunately, it's a passion, and I'm good enough with all the basic skills to succeed. But if it wasn't a passion, none of that would matter.
Interesting.
And so having been around it long enough, I think, and being through cycles and being open to learning, you just slowly pick up all the necessary skill sets to succeed well.
Interesting.
But I also think there's a small amount of creativity you need as a person, right? If you're a passion and creativity.
And maybe a little bit of craziness to do
a little bit. Imagination, craziness.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing in our business, right?
Yeah.
You got to dare to go where others might not be willing to go.
Dare to go where others. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Which is kind of, for me, towards the tail end of my career, is really what I'm most interested in, is doing things that are new, different, uplifting in ways. I mean, there's nothing wrong with building an industrial building in a suburban ground-up location. I mean, that probably makes money, and it creates jobs, and it has a lot of societal benefits. And it can be cool for real estate, but I find infill redevelopment to be really spectacular. It can change neighborhoods more quickly, and so I enjoy that. Like Gateway was one example of that. I'm working on something in the West End that you probably know, and I think we have a very good chance of pulling that off. And
wow.
And that's cool for me, right? I mean, it's just different. Not many people would take that on or want to deal with it.
Yeah. And so it's fun to start out by talking about kind of what you're doing now and kind of your vision for the future, because isn't it great to be at the stage of your career where you get to do what you want to do, not what you have to do to kind of make sure you can, get the kids through college and feed the family.
Yeah, you totally, right? Your focus now becomes what do I want to work on? Why? I mean, you still need to answer the bell. You have to capitalize. Our business is heavy on capital and debt, so you have to get your lender and your equity on board, which means it has to have a return, right?
Right.
But there's a lot of ways to make money in this business, and I like to focus on things that are not obvious to others.
Interesting.
They're the most rewarding for me, not just money-wise, but kind of fulfilling.
Right,
yeah,
right. But I think it takes some guts to do that, right? Like it's hard to take. I think the older you get, the harder it is to take risk, and everything in real estate involves risk. I mean, everything you do involves risk, right? So, to be able to, because you get to a point in your career where you know what's safe. You talked about what's safe. I know I can do this over and over again, the exact same thing, and I know it'll work.
Yeah.
So that.
Well, you hope it will work.
Well,
You never
right.
know.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, you have to be willing to consistently take risk in our business, and if you aren't, it's probably time to transition to something else. As a developer, I mean,
for sure,
you have to be willing to take risk, buy land when at the worst possible time to want to buy land in terms of liquidity or market cycle is exactly when you probably should buy land because it's cheapest, right?
Right.
And probably sell, have the courage to. It's probably the hardest thing I found is when to sell a piece of real estate. Between the tax that you have to pay and the thought you got to start all over and find something new, it's just hard. But you have to have that discipline to sell, and there's a little risk in selling. You just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but they say you can time the market in real estate, but you can't time the market in the stock market necessarily. And anyway, it's just interesting.
Yeah, one of my mentors in this business was Boyd Stouffer at UP, and he said you have to be approximately correct most of the time. So it's a good way of saying it. You're not always going to time it perfectly, but if you're doing that most of the time, you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been through 5 cycles now in real estate. My generation is very weird at being 58 years old. There's not a lot of people my age bracket. Your husband is. I mean, there's a few of us, but we all started 1990 when the business was absolutely terrible. I mean, it was really hard to survive in real estate from about 1990 to 95, and nobody went into the business at that time. Mm-hmm. So there's very few of us that have been through that many cycles now, unless, they're like a Gary Holmes, who's
right.
a whole different generation.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Right. How did you get into the business? You got in about 90? Is that what you?
Yep, 1990. I was hired by Welsh to be a receiver. My couple of my first big assignments were for Wells Fargo Bank. Ironically, one of them was to take over the receivership of One Carlson Parkway.
Really?
From Trammell Crow. So I remember my second day on the job, a guy named Steve Kellogg, who ran office leasing at Welsh, Mike Salmon and I went and met with the CB and Trammell Crow guys, and we were talking about, they were presenting their newest Carlson Tower for lease. And I'll never forget it. They said something like, we're renting the space for $22 net. And I think Steve Kellogg said, well, that's great, but the market's 12. And I remember the guy at Trammell Crow or CB, whoever it was, shut the leasing folder and said, well, that's kind of the end of the meeting then, right? I mean, but the market turned really hard.
Yeah. Right.
That was a harder cycle than we're in now. This is a hard cycle from a debt perspective, just re-leveraging with interest rates. Okay. But in 1990, it was hard to lease anything. There were no buyers. Buildings were worth half of their value, so it took forever to work out of it.
Yeah, and that was all because of the 86 tax change,
It was,
right?
yeah, and savings and loan.
Yeah, the crisis,
Crisis. But out of every crisis becomes an opportunity, and for me, I jumped from Welsh to Lutheran Brotherhood, did workouts for them for a number of years, and then became an acquisitions person around the country for them, and learned the business. I've always had great bosses in the business that have given me plenty of opportunity to either hang myself or succeed, and that was certainly true at Lutheran Brotherhood, and then again working with Boyd and ultimately for Jim Polad with the Polad companies, and all created a large runway of opportunity to grow, learn, and succeed. So.
Do you have a project that you found to be the most interesting or fun that you've done so far? I mean, obviously, there's a few that I can think of, but
I would say one bucket's maybe the most profitable projects. That one for me was Enterprise Business Center in Denver, Colorado. I have a little bit of fulfillment from there in the sense that I became the first developer in 2012 to build spec in Denver industrial.
Wow.
Yeah, so the market was still recovering from the 08-09 crisis, and we went out and optioned 100 acres of land and started building spec there, and were very well rewarded for that timing.
Wow.
One developer of the year out there.
Wow, that's so cool.
It was a great run, but I'd say the most fulfilling project just to see, of course, from sheer size and complexity was Gateway, RBC Gateway. I'm very much, though, having transitioned to Hempel now, and really being an owner of the business with Josh Krisnak, I'm intrigued with some of the things we're doing. We're, now it's a different mindset being a business owner, right? You're not just worried about your project, you're worried about your people and creating opportunity for them. How am I going to keep attracting capital and help them eliminate barriers and give them the confidence to succeed with what they're doing? So a little shift in mindset, but I love it, right? And
you sound so energized.
Yeah, I really am. Yeah,
it's a whole new challenge and a whole new chapter, and you're ready to go.
You control your own destiny, right?
Yeah,
and that's a whole different animal for me in a good way.
Yeah. Who you talked about your mentors, and I think it's interesting that you said that they gave you the room to kind of to either succeed or fail, basically. So you now have the opportunity to mentor a whole bunch of people, and you're kind of building a great team around you, kind of helping Hempel grow. At least that's what it looks like from the outside.
Absolutely.
What are some of the skills that you're trying to take to this new venture that you were given along the way to kind of help some of the younger folk and some of your peers succeed
You
in
know,
this next
that's a great
chapter?
question. Some of it is personal, just having kids. Probably you see that too. The best you can do is keep instilling confidence and giving people time and patience. I think when I think about the biggest gift given to me was patience by people above me and around me to succeed, because our business takes time to have results. It's not like a quarterly business, and I do think there are people that want to reduce it to a quarterly business, and you just
Or a weekly call.
and you just shouldn't resist trying to work for people that want to reduce it to a quarterly business. It isn't.
Interesting.
It takes years sometimes to really have it all play out successfully, and so I think creating an environment now where I'm building confidence, I'm building a culture of patience and teamwork and collaboration for an ultimate goal, as well as opening up new lanes, different ways to make money, I think are all really important things for a business owner. And that's the things I got from the people that I work for. In hindsight, I look, and the Boyds and the Jim Polads, a fella at Lutheran Brotherhood I worked for, his name was Gary Carlson. He was that kind of guy. Yeah, a lot of runway and time and patience and support.
Yeah, and I like your path is pretty interesting because you kind of learning the business by starting out working on what didn't work or what was a problem is a great way to really understand how to put deals together to make them work.
What's ironic is up until 1998, I didn't believe development made sense. I'm like, why would anyone develop? Things were not worth what they cost to build until from 1990 to like 1997. Wow. And then again, a little ironically, because I ended up working for him, Boyd Sofer was one of the first developers, and he built Centennial Lakes in 1998, and he showed the whole market that it would work. And again, ironically, I did that in Denver in 2012. That I started a cycle, and I do believe we'll get to a more pronounced cycle here. I'll stay out of the political arena here, but I think there needs to be some fundamental changes to how the U.S. is navigating this, and we'll get there one way or the other with one party or another. But I have a long view that all's going to take care of itself. If things get either really successful, they crash, or if they get deeply broken, they correct. And I think you can't just shut off the development faucet, as an example, in multifamily for 5 years without, think about it. It'll result in significant rent growth, tightening of supply, right? And then demand will charge up, and that will create a new opportunity for development. So the business fixes itself, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to be willing to see it, jump in early, and prepare. And back to what I was saying about people that create that environment, which I'm trying to do, I would say also you or the people you're working for, what you hope and expect in return is that they're going to work hard, prepare, and do the things to set the playing field so when the time comes, you can take advantage.
Sure. Yeah, it's not like it is a gift, maybe. And so if you don't take advantage of that gift, on your one side of the table or the other, it's a waste. It really is. Yeah. So if you're giving these people a gift, and as you were given.
Yeah, that's a good way to
But
look
then
at it.
you took full advantage.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you just create an environment for them to succeed, and it's up to them to ultimately do it. But your job as business owner becomes to eliminate barriers and use your experience to help them prepare for that as best they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about there's so many different ways to make money in this business. And, I think if you're at, a big company, or even if you work outside of this business, people aren't as in tune to the different avenues of making money in real estate. And I think everyone should be, right?
Yeah.
It's really, most of the wealth in this country has been generated because of real estate. So
that's a great way to look at it.
Tell me about how individuals could build generational wealth, either as a practitioner in commercial real estate or as, working for another company and just trying to take advantage of the opportunities there.
Yeah. Great
Hempel
questions.
has some great opportunities no matter where you sit at the table, right?
Yeah. I was fortunate back in about 1998, 1999, while I was an employee at Lutheran Brothers. This is even before my time at UP and Hempel, of course. I started buying real estate personally with friends, commercial real estate, and I would invest in other people's deals. Sometimes I would try to sponsor them, and I fully recognized that had to be not in conflict with my employer at the time.
Sure.
And you as long as you were disclosing it, and making sure that people knew you were doing it, it was the right thing to do, right? Slowly invest in real estate, just like stocks, and hopefully you pick good ones there. Real estate's more steady Eddie, but
and it takes a lot longer to really generate the return.
It can, and I started with industrial, which is kind of a good foundation for investing in our business, and since I've been doing that for 25 years,
Wow.
On the backside, it slowly grows and gets to the point where you wake up one day and you own 50 buildings, right? I mean, and then but you have to start early. As soon as you can, you should start trying to invest in real estate, I would say.
Yeah, because it is a long game.
Yeah. Well, it's a business that uses leverage, and given enough time, you're going to pay down debt on your buildings, and then your cash flow is going to jump way up, or you want to refinance and pull cash out and start the process again. But it's a steady eddy, and with enough time, it does create great wealth for people.
Yeah. Do you see your kids getting into the business?
Yeah. People, I'm on a panel tomorrow where people are asking me, the question is, what's your legacy? And I know they want a real estate answer. What's your legacy? So come back to that. But I believe all of our legacy is our kids, to the extent you have a family and you chose to raise kids. And so that, to me, that's front of mind for me, is that I have two daughters, and they're both bright, young ladies, and I do want them. I hope they will want to get into real estate and have that kind of path, and it looks like they both are interested. So that's becomes a legacy opportunity for me to teach them. I got to say, I'm slightly terrified of screwing it up. I want them to. I don't want to give them something that they don't like. So as we speak, I'm actually designing a little internship program for my college child, and I want her to touch and go on some different things for her to figure out what interests her, because what I think might interest her may not be a fit for her. So the best you can do is expose them early and
right.
Yeah. But I think that's ultimately our legacy. As far as me in real estate, somebody said, what do you want to be known for? Probably at the heart of things, it would be my people, the relationships, the lasting relationships. But also, I can't resist that I want to be known for doing projects that were uplifting or unique in the market, like a gateway, or like this West End project we're working on, or some things I've done that I won't get into. But it's just things that change the calculus.
Yeah. And I spoke to a developer recently, and she said, there's something about developing real estate, because you can actually drive by and see what you did, and and only you really know what it took to put all of those pieces together to make that happen.
One of the key things I think for young people is to keep learning and being open. So often we start thinking we have all the answers, and then you start thinking that, and the next thing you know, you're not right. Or things change. You might have been right for a period of time.
Okay.
And then things shifted. And that happens all the time in our business, right? Neighborhood shift or pattern shift. But an example of something that I worked on in my career that wouldn't be obvious to some people, is I built 4 buildings in the North Loop, or 4 new ground up or renovations. There's a plaza between the Loose Wiles building and Nordic, right outside of the Free House. And that plaza. It wasn't my idea to build a public park there when we were building that project. I was a developer, and I remember Jim Pohlad saying, if you want to make a good project great, you need a public plaza. You need to do some green space. That's what people will be remembering, is the outdoor space and kind of the connectivity. And
it's hard to monetize that, though, so it's
really hard to monetize it. But he was right, and it was a lesson learned for me that you need to think outside of just your own narrow lens sometimes about what's the most financially rewarding to what's the most rewarding for your customer and neighborhood, because that's part of your legacy too.
Yeah.
So I get back to, did you do a good job, not just making money, but did you do a good job with something that will be permanently enjoyed?
Yeah, and boy, that is. I mean, there's people out there all the time.
Yeah.
At all seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That park was maybe the most shining example of doing something for legacy. And again, I give Jim Pohlad most of the credit there. I just happened to listen and do it with him. But yeah, that changed my calculus. So
interesting.
yeah.
Well, and that means that, that creative piece and, is alive and well. And it's easy for that to get squashed when you get kind of bogged down in certain situations. And
Yeah.
it sounds like you're in a really good place to develop and create right now.
Yeah, at Hempel, we, something that is easy to lose sight of running a big company before joining Hempel comes with its own unique challenges. You're there making sure you cover overhead and give your owner a quarterly dividend, and those things maybe take you away sometimes from things you like to do or things you're really good at. But with Hempel, I think, and you get so focused on development, you become known as a developer. But really, this business, there's a lot of opportunity in the acquisition side.
Yeah.
Buying buildings that are underutilized or sites. Acquisitions are a much faster way to generate cash flow for your investor. Of course, there's always some transaction fees you can earn as a sponsor. And Hempel's really good at that. Hempel has a long history of acquiring distress or even stable properties. And so building that out more as another I would say stool of the foundation, not just development, but acquisitions. And so I'm back into that heavily with Hempel.
Yeah.
And it's very exciting.
Yeah.
So
we're sitting in Hempel's beautiful podcast studio in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, and they are so known for the creativity and really partnering with great people to do things that are kind of outside of what they've done before.
Yeah.
So
Josh is definitely a visionary in different lanes than I am, and that's what I think makes us a really good partnership. Like he's working, he founded a food hall in Milwaukee that's, I think, won maybe the top food hall in the country, top 2 recently. We're working on a couple more food halls. That's an aspect of real estate, but it's not really real estate, right? It's an operating business inside the real estate. And he has forged lanes there that really nobody I'm aware of has in multiple ways. I'm just the developer acquisition real estate guy. That part of it's really a nice blend of creativity and I would say entrepreneurial culture at Hempel.
Yeah.
And so
and it appears that you're really pushing some growth there. So do you have big aspirations? I mean, you're kind of the foot's on the gas.
Yes, the foot is on the gas. We work really. This is kind of you chuckle at this. We think of ourselves as really a capital manager, right? I mean, we just happen to be in real estate, but we're like any other fund or hedge fund that makes money for the people that are willing to invest it with us and through us. And so we're caretakers of capital, and we want to do a good job, and all the things I talked about go into getting a successful return for the shareholder. It means actually buying or developing a cool project and doing more of it, right? I mean, people do like the returns from real estate.
Yeah.
And they like a mix of long-term things that give them a consistent passive income, and they like the occasional in and out of a development project where you flip it and double your money if all goes well, and in a short couple of years, that's great. And yeah, we definitely want to grow. I mean, it's Josh, as long as I've known him, is pro-growth, and I'm maybe just fuel. He says it best. We had the fire going, you just came and dumped a bunch of gas on it. So,
oh, I love that.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to do, and we're putting together a great team.
And you're going to have a gas doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's got to be fun, right?
It really is fun. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, there's things along the way that are not obvious to people that they are, but they aren't. Like you got to sign guarantees on every project you do and keep taking risk. We talked about that.
Yeah.
But that's just something you get comfortable with. And if you have, a good enough financial foundation, you're just willing to take those risks and keep it going. And so that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Having a ton of fun.
Oh, and just surrounding yourself with really good people.
Yeah, and
And you know everybody, so.
I do know everybody. Back to the relationships and the people, those things are what matter, right? And you don't really, you really want to avoid, I think, burning bridges in our business at all costs. I think that's another significant accomplishment, and largely, I think I've been able to do that. I think the people most successful have been able to do that. There might be a few exceptions here, but for the most part, it's you got to protect your legacy. And
yeah.
Well,
and you do that by just doing your best every day, don't you think? I mean,
yeah, but you have to make choices on the way. I mean, you could come in and I'll give you an example. And I'll turn this into a positive, but like in 08, 09, working for Boyd at the time, Boyd was very negative about the downturn and just kind of a sour mood. And I would come into his office like every other day and try to pep talk him into what we could be doing, and we did do some things actually in that downturn, but it's a mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't always create the entire external environment we're operating in, but we can adapt to it and make the most of it. So I really do think you should. I wake up now every day relieved of a burden of trying to make payroll for a huge company and do all the things that other people want you to do. My focus is to get through each and every day and have a really good experience with the people that are committed to working for us. And what can I do to move the needle? But I would just think I feel like I'm in a fantastic place.
I love it.
Mindset wise. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, when you feel that, you just know you're kind of in the right place, and kind of the things are, kind of in alignment, and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing at that time.
Yeah. We talked about this early on. Things take care of themselves if given enough time, and it all works out. So just have to have the patience.
Yeah.
Right?
Patience.
Yeah.
Patience.
It's not easy to have that sometimes. I get it. But.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate this conversation. It went so quick.
Absolutely. Yeah, it did.
I mean, gosh, it's just an honor to be in the same room with you and to learn from you, near and afar. And thanks for sharing all this wisdom with us.
Of course. Thank you very much.